Welcome to RPG Book Club by Request, the podcast where we sell out and we do whatever you want us to do for money. I am Sam Allman.
I'm ready. I'm also David Bernard Howe.
Oh, sorry. And I am the dumbass that commissioned this game.
Yes, normally we do a good 5-10 minutes talking about the person before we start playing, but this time they just get to tell us about themselves. But first, let me tell you what we're doing today. We are discussing somehow SpongeBob SquarePants, the battle for Bikini Bottom for the PlayStation 2, but all of us played the rehydrated version, which is slightly different for the Switch and PS4 and PC.
It's my favorite Japanese role-playing game.
It really is. It has a lot of great characters and a memorable plot. It's memorable as in it's easy to memorize because it is 2 cutscenes long. But before we get started talking about this game and speaking mostly in just SpongeBob references, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, so I am Omega Cerevan of the Cerebral Wind Collective. I do stuff. I stream. I'm a game designer by hobby. I'm actually currently in very early development of a RPG based around the concept of dissociative identity disorder as a whole.
Nice.
I really don't have that much of a life to shill.
You said you stream. What games have you been streaming recently?
Well, me and the others in my head, because DID system, have been doing this thing called the History of Smash, where we're playing one game from every single character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's series. So, like, one game from Mario, one game for Link, one game for Donkey Kong, etc., for 83 characters.
So, like, you're doing separate games for, like, Mario and Luigi and Princess Peach?
Yes.
Cool.
Cool.
I was going to ask, so that's Super Mario Brothers, Luigi's Mansion, and Super Princess Peach?
Well, we did Super Mario 64 because it is one of the most iconic Mario games. And then we did Epsy did Donkey Kong Country, and then I did Twilight Princess for Link.
All right. I would have done Twilight Princess for Zelda. Is Zelda and Sheik the same character this time, or separate characters?
They are separate, like they were in Smash 4.
Okay, I couldn't remember when they switched and when they switched back, or if they switched back or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, yeah, I would have done Twilight Princess for Zelda because she is her and Midna are both the titular Twilight Princess. But so maybe do like, well, no, because Toon Link is there. So Jesus Christ, this is hard,
Right?
It's a logistical nightmare. But
I have an entire Google document just dedicated to the list of what games are being played for who.
Yeah.
And it has changed so many times.
Yeah. You have to do Ocarina of Time for Sheik because I think that's his only appearance.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think he made it into Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, Sheik is in Hyrule Warriors.
In the original Hyrule Warriors, yeah.
Oh, then yeah, you could. You have it out there. That makes it a little more.
I think our plan was to do Hyrule Warriors for Ganondorf.
Yeah, because good Ganondorf games, you basically just have Wind Waker, which I mean, you could do Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks for Toon Link to get Wind Waker Ganondorf, and then Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time. So maybe using one of the Hyrule Warriors for him instead. Good.
Okay, so it looks like our plan is to do Ocarina of Time for Sheik, Spirit Tracks for Zelda.
Okay, that's a good pick for Zelda.
Currently we have here Link's Awakening DX for Ganondorf, but we've been back and forth about that one.
Link's Awakening DX? He's not in that game.
Is he not?
No, have you never played a Link's Awakening before?
I've never played Link's Awakening, which is why I wanted to do it.
Well, first off, play Link's Awakening because it's great, but also Ganondorf and, in fact, Ganon are not present.
Yeah, it is one of the... It is much like Majora's Mask is one of the ones that is not a retelling of the battle between the goddess and Demise. So...
It's very unique in that in that respect.
Yeah, there are, I think, are just the two. I think I believe so that it's just the two, because I think they retroactively made all the Vadi games. He's also a Demise. He's just not Ganondorf.
Is he in the Oracle games? Because I played through one of them and I don't remember him being there. But
the big bad, when you play both games, the big bad of them is a dude named Onox. But I don't.
It's probably Ganon.
It's probably Ganon.
The big bad of Four Swords is Vati.
Yeah, I know Four Swords and Minish Cap and Four Swords Adventures all are. I think it's Four Swords Adventures that implies that Vati is a Ganon.
That's silly.
But I haven't played Four Swords Adventures, and there's probably a Super Zelda fan listening right now yelling at me for getting it very wrong. I should play that game. I now have a working dolphin machine, so maybe I will actually play Four Swords Adventures.
We should just ask Brian David Gilbert to make us a diagram and explain it.
And here we have the basketball timeline.
Yeah.
But no,
if you actually haven't seen Brian David Gilbert's timeline video where he timelines every appearance of Link, it's great.
Did y'all know that he made that video because some higher up in Polygon, or whatever company owns Polygon, was strong-arming him to make a video about the Legend of Zelda timeline, so he just found the dumbest way to do it?
That's great. And
then it spawned a whole series of him destroying his brain.
Yeah. It's great. Have you been following him since he left Polygon?
Yes, he has made some great stuff.
He really has. This is now, instead of SpongeBob, this is a Brian David Gilbert podcast. He's just as much of a JRPG as SpongeBob is. It's okay.
You make a fair point. The inner machinations of his mind are JRPG.
Yes. But
no, it looks like for Toon Link we're doing Wind Waker.
Kid Link, Majora's Mask.
Young Link. I forgot entirely about Young Link. We're doing Majora's Mask for Young Link, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely based on his Majora's Mask appearance, that's for sure.
Yeah. But some notable games from this are Mega Man Legends. No more heroes, because what we're doing for the Mii Fighters is we're taking one of their costumes and playing a game based on that costume.
Nice.
Fun.
So we have Bomberman 64.
Nice.
No More Heroes 2, and Custom Robo.
Custom Robo is a good-ass game. Bernard, write that down. Find something to go against Custom... Oh, actually, Robotech for the Super NES versus Custom Robo. That's a block. It's robot building JRPGs. I want to... You heard it here first, kids. Down. You heard it here first, kids. That's happening eventually.
We have to play 2 separate Street Fighter games because of Ryu and Ken. The sheer number of Fire Emblem games on this list gives me an aneurysm.
And Fire Emblem games ain't short.
No, they're not.
What you should do to mix it up a little, instead of just because playing through a campaign of Street Fighter is like a 45-minute experience. You should, for Ryu, because I know he's in it, play Project X Zone.
Are we sure it's not pronounced Project Cross Zone?
It probably is Cross Zone, but it's great. Have you heard of that before, Omega?
I have not. I'm looking it up right now. Project X Zone is a crossover tactical role-playing game for the 3DS developed by Monolith Soft with assistance from Capcom and Red Entertainment and published by Bamco.
Yeah.
I did not know that Monolith Soft developed it.
Yeah. My old roommate, Trey, shout-outs to Trey, he's probably listening. He had both Cross Zone and Cross Zone 2, and he loved it. And I'm like, it's just some crossover. He's like, yeah, but it's really good. And I've always been meaning to get back around to playing it because it does look really good.
Oh my
It's
God.
Namco, Capcom, and Sega characters, right?
Yeah, I think the first one is...
I know there was a Japan-only first one that was just Namco and Capcom.
Yeah. So the first one was Namco x Capcom, and then Project Cross Zone is the second one in the 3-game series, which is Namco, Capcom, and Sega. And then there's Cross Zone 2, which... Did they add anybody else to it? Special guest appearances from Nintendo characters.
Ooh.
I'm looking at the wiki for Project X Zone right now, and this is the first game I've ever actually seen where I can legitimately put the featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series sticker on it.
Yeah. The Nintendo characters looks like it is just Chrome and Lucina.
Of course.
Yeah.
Apparently Flynn Scifo from Tales of Vesperia is in this game.
Yeah. There's several Tales of Vesperia characters. Yeah,
I really want to play every Tales game.
Me too.
I have a lot of them, but the only one I've ever actually played to near completion is Legendia. And by that I mean I made it to the true final boss, was like 3 levels under leveled, and got my ass handed to me on a silver platter.
Yeah. We have plans for the Tales series, and I don't know exactly what they are, but
or if we'll ever get to them.
If we'll ever get to them, but we have ideas, so that will happen soon. What also will happen soon is us start talking about SpongeBob.
So at the beginning there's robots, and at the end there's still robots. The end.
Yeah, we accomplish basically nothing. And the characters, it's not like, oh, that's the meta, like, commentary on the series. No, the characters say, even in the perfect 100% ending, there are still robots. We accomplished nothing.
And it's not like it's implying that there's a post-game, because there's not a post-game.
Yeah, I figured that I'd heard that there was a slightly different ending if you 100% of the game. I assumed instead of Sandy saying there's still robots, she would say there's not still robots.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not what happens.
No.
Yeah, instead you get an in-engine video of all of the characters singing the main theme.
And
That's silly.
it. That's the plot. All right, if you like what you heard today, no. So
One more song and let's move on to Men Bombs.
Yeah. So in lieu of talking about the plot of the game, we're basically going to just go level by level. They have like little setup plots. It's basically just one of the 8 spatulas you can get has basically a cutscene when you start it. But we'll talk about each of the levels, talk about the boss fights, hang out, talk about some SpongeBob shit, and then have min moms when we're all done. So the actual plot of the game is that Plankton is trying to steal the Formioli as usual, And he does it by making a robot and making a robot duplicator. But he accidentally leaves the switch from obey on not obey. So now he has all these robots that won't obey him, and they're running amok in Bikini Bottom. Is there anything that makes SpongeBob start doing it, or do you just start controlling SpongeBob and you stop them robots because they're robots?
SpongeBob and Patrick are like playing toy robots or something, and SpongeBob's like, I wish we had... What was that?
Robots and racehorses.
Robots and racehorses. And SpongeBob's like, I wish we had real robots to play with. And Patrick's like, I have this wishing shell thing. And we put the toy robot in the wishing shell and we say the magic words. And then tomorrow we'll have robots to play with.
Aha. That's what it was. And we do, in fact, have a lot of robots to play with. So the first level-ish is the hub area. It's not important. It's just all of the places that we recognize from the majority of Bikini Bottom. And there are, much like regular hub worlds, there are a bunch of doors that are blocked because you have to get the right number of Doomaflachis to go through it. The one that is not locked is to Jellyfish Fields, level 1. The plot here is Squidward has been stung by a jellyfish, so he needs some jellyfish jelly to soothe his jellyfish sting, and he needs SpongeBob to go and get it from the top of the mountain from the big jellyfish boss there. King Jellyfish. So you go and do that, and you jump around and everything. What did you guys think about this first level? As a World 1-1.
I felt like it was a pretty okay World 1-1. It very much felt like SpongeBob. The music here is very SpongeBob. And the graphics in the rehydrated version are nice. I enjoy them. And it was a nice place to sort of go around in. Yeah.
It has literally nothing to write home about, but also nothing to write an angry letter about either. It's just, it's there, and it doesn't necessarily wow me like a Sonic 1-1 does, but as just a, here's what the game is going to be, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a pretty by the books first level in a 3D platformer.
Yeah, I remembered when I got there, because I played this first level twice because when I got it from Gamefly, Stormy was throwing a fit, and I was like, "Oh, Stormy, do you want to play a game?" And so I skipped all of the cutscenes so that he could just run around as SpongeBob. But then he kept wanting me to do it, and so I ended up playing through most of this first level. Then I restarted so I could actually watch the cutscenes and know what the fuck was going on and stuff. And its quality made me be like, "Oh, this will just be a PS2 game tie-in." Like it felt like the Kim Possible game. It felt like a Ben 10 game. It just felt serviceable. The rest of the game is like really, really good. This first one is just, it's what you expect from a SpongeBob platformer, and that is neither a good nor a bad thing.
I think it does a good job introducing what all of the mechanics are and how they all work. The character switching, the sliding, the teleport boxes, the underwear bungee.
The next area after Jellyfish Fields starts to get a lot more interesting, and that is downtown Bikini Bottom. Technically, you can do like the first 3 levels, I think it is, in any order. You just have to have enough spatulas to do it.
Yeah. But if you have enough spatulas, you can tackle things in pretty much any order.
Yeah. The next cheapest one, though, is downtown Bikini Bottom. So the plot on this one is that all of the robots have stolen all of the steering wheels from the boats at Mrs. Puff's boating school, and you're going to go around and get them back. And you get them back by just finding them. It's just a collectathon, but the direction that you are trying to go to make progress through it is into the big lighthouse nearby. And so you have to go along the streets, find your way there to eventually find Sandy so that you can make your way across the rooftops and then make your way into the lighthouse, which is a combat challenge to make your way all the way down the lighthouse. And hopefully you found all of them on your way through. I did not. I had to look all over to find the ones that I missed when I made it to the end of the level.
There was one. I found them all, except there was one right at the beginning that was like on a ledge, on an awning a little bit higher than you can jump. And I don't know how you're supposed to get it, but this is something I did several times throughout the game. I just found some weird geometry that I could barely get on top of and then jumped up from there, and definitely did not do it as intended.
Yeah, there were quite a few times. So the original game was before Unreal Engine was a thing. So I don't know what it was in, but it probably was just a bespoke platformer engine. I don't think it had Havoc physics. This game has Havoc physics, and because of that, there are a lot of times where I'm like, I don't think this is right, but it's what I'm doing, and made my way through a lot of it that way.
Yeah.
The original SpongeBob SquarePants was on Renderware game engine.
Did that have Havoc physics?
I don't fucking know. Probably not.
Probably not, because that was a big Xbox 360 thing, because everybody was like, look at these fucking physics.
A lot of games were in Renderware. Yeah, it was developed by Criterion Games, so it's, all the Burnout games. But also, some of the Chinese Paladin games.
Oh, nice.
The way that you're supposed to get that particular steering wheel is you're supposed to switch to Sandy and come back here along the rooftops and drop down onto it.
Well, I got it as SpongeBob.
The easiest way to get it is to walk up to it and bubble dash.
You smush through the awning enough to grab it?
Smush through the awning, but if you're close enough to the awning and you get high enough with the bubble dash, it registers that you're within pickup range of it, and it'll just be sucked into your being.
Gotta love it.
Love to sequence break. Love to speed run.
Yeah. This level I really liked because I didn't love it nearly as much as some later, but this is when I started to get the charm of this game, because it's big and it's sprawling, and there's usually only one way forward. So these levels are like trying to be a Banjo-Kazooie Super Mario 64 type thing, but they're very linear levels, and that combination together is pretty cool. And I just loved climbing up and then climbing back down, and all the different areas going through it. I really liked this one.
I really enjoyed this level because I really enjoy playing as Sandy. I like how
Sandy
she
feels real good.
Yeah, she kind of just feels like overpowered because you can do the hovering, and her lasso is really good in combat.
Yeah. So I have a couple of fun facts about how Sandy plays in Rehydrated versus the original.
Yeah.
So in the original game, you couldn't lasso enemies in midair.
Oh, I did that a lot in Rehydrated.
Yeah, and in Rehydrated, if you have enough enemies that are on ascending elevations, you can jump again after you lasso someone with Sandy. So you can just keep rising into the air and ascending to godhood.
That's dope.
Similar to the Knuckles pause glitch in Sonic Boom.
I never played any of the Sonic Booms. I felt I felt that they would be good, but a lot of people said they were bad, so they probably are great. I just never got to playing them.
They're bad in the way that Sonic 06 is bad, but they're also bad in the way that Sonic and the Secret Rings was bad.
Sounds like it's bad.
Maybe so.
A couple of other things about this level in particular. In the original game, so that button that opens up the springboard that takes you up to the lighthouse.
Uh-huh.
In the original game, if you press that button as SpongeBob and then switch to Sandy, that springboard would retract back under the building again, stopping you from going in as Sandy. In Rehydrated, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, you can just make your way through as overpowered as hell with Sandy.
Unfortunately, there is a button at the bottom of the lighthouse that you can only press as SpongeBob, and it brings up a bunch of springboards and takes you up to a sock.
That reminded me of something that I like about this game, and I found out that I liked it about this game because I thought this game was stupid and broken at first. You have fast travel in this game. Like, basically every time you see a spatula, it records it into your start menu, and you can then fast travel to near it. It doesn't work great for all of them. Like, there's one that you have to be Sandy in this particular position, and if you teleport there, it makes you SpongeBob, and the way to turn back is super far away, so it's a really shitty teleport. But for the most part, it just takes you right there, and it's super great. And I found this out because in Jellyfish Fields, I was trying to find one of the spatulas, so I turned around at the top and walked backwards as SpongeBob into the part where Patrick was, and then I was trapped because I couldn't open the door because I couldn't pick up stuff and I couldn't do anything to get out. And I was like, crap, like, I have to reload my save. So I hit start to reload my save, and I saw it pop up on the bottom that you could hit A to travel to wherever you want. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like that. But our next level is Goo Lagoon. The plot here, something robot, something giant sun ray, something stole all the sunscreen. Everybody's getting sunburned. You need to go stop the robot. You need to get the sunscreen back. I don't remember much about this level. I think I just did it. I don't remember anything good or bad or interesting about this level at all.
It's got a part where you're racing a rising level of goo. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, of all of the like platformer bag of tricks, the racing a rising thing is a fun one. I usually really like it.
I was gonna say this level's not really super memorable. Then again, I speed ran the main plot of it as a kid. Basically, there's an ability that you unlock after the second boss, where if you bring that back to Goo Lagoon and you stand in the right spot and you fire it off, you can kill the robot on the island and get the spatula from Larry without ever leaving the main area.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
I don't know if it works in Rehydrated. I haven't tried it in Rehydrated. I know it works in the original.
Yeah, it seems super far away even for the thing in Rehydrated. It probably moved it farther apart for that exact reason.
Yeah, there was...
When you take the big old jumpy thing as Patrick, it takes a good hot minute to get across the water. So the next section that we have is our first like plot-ish boss fight at the Poseidon. So SpongeBob and Patrick go to the Poseidon, and King Neptune, the TV version, not the movie version, is there, and he has a giant Sandy Cheeks robot that you have to fight. It is Sandy first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you fight a giant Sandy Cheeks robot. What did you think about this fight being the first like boss fight? Because the King Jellyfish, you basically just jump up and punch 4 times and you win. This has actual like patterns and stuff like that.
I really like how the realistic fish head pops in, like you see it on screen. It pops in with banter. Mm-hmm. Also, while looking up information on this game, I learned that Mr. Lawrence voices not only Plankton, but like most characters in SpongeBob, including Larry and the realistic fish head. Shout out to Mr. Lawrence.
He was, in fact, one of the pioneers that helped create the show.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you eventually take it down, and so you have part of it you do as SpongeBob, part of you do as Patrick, then you finish it off as SpongeBob, and it's a real fun boss fight. Defeating the Poseidon, you then get Bubble Bowl first, right?
Yeah.
The
Bubble Bowl.
Yeah, Bubble Bowl is great. It's really strong and crucial to a couple late game combat spatulas.
It is It can be hard to use because when you're charging it up, SpongeBob
You
moves
move.
forward.
So after you get the bubble bowl, you can make your way up to the upper part of Bikini Bottom, or the middle part, I guess, of Bikini Bottom. This area has Sandy's Tree Dome. It has
Shady Shoals.
Oh yeah, the Sadie Shoals nursing home, which is important. I love the spatula in Sandy's Tree Dome because it just dries out SpongeBob, but otherwise is just a combat encounter. As
The tree dome is leaking.
I like how SpongeBob is talking in his wheezing, dried out voice during the cutscenes, but then like while you're fighting the robots, he'll like do his battle quips in regular voice.
the important part of this one, though, is when you go into Shady Shoals rest home, you get a little cutscene with Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Imposter. Because Mermaid Man and Mr. Krabs are the two characters who are not voiced by their original voice actors in this game. And Mr. Krabs is way worse, but he's not an important character throughout the whole game. But
he talks a lot, but
he talks a lot.
He doesn't like do as much as other characters.
Yeah, Mermaid Man shows up way more frequently.
Yeah.
The reason they're not the original voices is actually kind of funny on one hand and disappointing on the other. In regards to Mermaid Man, Ernest Borgnine, the voice actor of Mermaid Man, was getting up there in years, and he couldn't exactly, like, get places super easy. So he just never actually made it to their recording booth. Clancy Brown, the voice actor of Mr. Krabs, basically said, "You're not going to pay me enough for this gig, so I'm not doing it."
Which is very on brand.
Very on brand.
So yeah, you go to talk to them in the rest home, and they I don't even remember why, but they basically just let you go into the Mermalair to go and have a Mermalair level, which is a great level. It's probably my favorite level. So in Mermalair, your goal is to shut off the Mermalair computer, I believe.
You're going around and shutting off the security system because it started malfunctioning, and Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy have a whole bunch of doctor's appointments.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way through the Mermalair, and it's like it's my favorite of this game is very lit. The levels are very linear, even though you have to do different things along the way, and the Mermalair is like perfect for this because there's like only one way to go, and it's like each spatula is basically a stop along the way. It's like, oh, as you're going here in this room, you have to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and it was very like segmented, and I liked it. It was nice.
How'd you do with the fucking spatula where you guide the ball?
The rolling ball machine, yeah.
I hated it, but I loved when I got it.
I hated it, but I hated it.
There were so many times because, like, the first time you get to a certain spot, there's a cutscene. I'm like, okay, cool. This is like the checkpoint. No, you just get a cutscene there the first time for no good reason. And so like the first couple of things take forever, and so every time you fail, you sit there and you're waiting for a very long time, and it's annoying. But they're like not necessarily hard to get the timings down. But then the last one is fucking difficult, and it's the last one, and so my I knocked it off of the little rotating platform like 40 times. I finally get it in the thing, and I'm like, yes, awesome, but it's timed because there's air blowing out of it, and it only blocks the air for a second, and then it'll blow the ball out if you're not fast to go and hit the switch fast enough. So I being excited because I finally got the fucking thing. I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, Summer, I did this. It was so hard. I was explaining it. And then the cutscene happens where it pops the ball out and I failed again and I had to do it again. And it took for fucking ever. And I fell off the rotating platform like 40 more times. It was fucking horrible. It's fun in like this is fucking hard and I fucking hate this way.
I probably should have given up because I did not end up getting 100% of the spatulas anyway, so I didn't need this one.
Nope. Loved it though.
Hated it.
Yeah, it does my heart good to see other grown-ass adults struggling with a children's platforming video game.
Yeah, I don't think the kids are intended to have gotten this far.
Yeah, that particular area, like right at the end of that rolling ball, where you have like the platform where you have to like tilt it around with your own body weight to move the ball into the thing, that was my sleep paralysis demon as a child. Because I was playing with a dollar store brand PS2 controller where the analog sticks didn't have like the textured like rubbery stuff on them. So I had to like slightly flick it one way and then slightly flick it the other very carefully on the edges of the control stick so that I didn't cut my thumb.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Don't do that. But hey, at least this wasn't a Wii game and it would have been motion controlled. So the next level is Rock Bottom, which is probably my second favorite in the game because it's a boatload of references. Like the game so far has had several references, but I feel like Rock Bottom was like, we all loved this episode, so we're going to put everything from this episode there. Like all of the characters you meet in that episode are in this level. The fucking vending machine is there, and when you walk up to the vending machine, a taxi goes by. Like this level in particular was a SpongeBob game.
I have something to say about this level.
What is that?
So I played the original version of this game as a child on the Nintendo GameCube, and I don't remember anything about it because I don't remember things from my childhood because my brain don't work. But I remembered exactly one part of this game, which is when you get the story prompt for this level where you enter and you talk to Mrs. Puff, and Mrs. Puff is like, the robots have stolen all the artwork from the museum. I need you to get all the artwork for me. And SpongeBob asks, but why do you need all the artwork? And she says, don't ask questions you're not prepared for the answer to. And I remembered that line because it was ominous.
That's amazing.
I reference that in my daily life. If we're playing D&D and one of my roommates goes, hey, is such and such possible? I just look at them and I go, don't ask questions you're not prepared to handle the answer to.
That reminds me, have you seen the fan theory that basically every episode after Mrs. Puff goes to prison is just her in her dream because that episode doesn't resolve? She's still like the last joke is that she's still dreaming. And so every episode after that takes place inside of her dream, and that's why things get fucking weird in the later seasons. And it's a really dumb theory because obviously it was just a one-off episode, but the breaking down of that episode and the ancillary material that they have for proof for their theory is really, really interesting. So if you haven't seen it, I know I saw it on TikTok. There's probably a write-up of it somewhere, but I really enjoyed reading it.
That's silly.
It's very silly. But yeah, so Rock Bottom, like you said, you have to go and get the artwork from the museum, and you get there by doing a series of like SpongeBob can turn into a bowling ball because why not? And that's
like he does in the show all the time.
Yeah. So the first section is a bunch of like races against the clock as bowling ball SpongeBob, and then you have a bunch of sandy platform forming areas, and then you get to the museum, which is like the floor is lava platforming challenge, and it's very difficult but very fun. And did the first game have lives? I feel like this game was designed around having lives, and I'm really glad that it does not have lives.
The original Battle for Bikini Bottom did not have lives.
Oh.
You could die as many times as you had to because it was a television tie-in game for Spongebob SquarePants.
Yeah, but I mean, the television tie-in video game for the Powerpuff Girls had lives, and you would game over and stuff. So
yeah,
it was very, very ahead of its time. We gave that award to Mario Odyssey, being like, "Oh, look, Mario has finally gotten rid of lives." But SpongeBob, back in the day, 2003, he was a visionary.
Looping back for just a minute, back to the Murmelair.
Oh yeah,
there was one detail you forgot to mention, and that's that there's a mini boss here.
Voiced by Mr. Lawrence, I think.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about
French Plankton isn't real, and he can't hurt you. His name is Prawn, and he is Mermaid Man's arch nemesis.
Apparently.
The reason being, he put all of Mermaid Man's white clothes in the washer with a red sock.
That trope has always like confused me. Who the fuck wears red socks? Because it's always a red sock that does it, and not like a red t-shirt. Who the fuck is going around with some bright ass red socks to put in with the whites? I don't understand it.
Don't ask questions you're not prepared to handle the answer to.
So I think these middle three levels are just all tied for my favorite level. The next level after Rock Bottom is Sand Mountain. So Sand Mountain is just 3 different mountains that you snowboard down, and they're hard and fun.
And all of them have time challenges, where if you're playing as SpongeBob, you can race Mrs. Puff, Bubble Buddy, and Larry's best times down the respective slopes.
The last time challenge was the only one I struggled with.
Yeah, the Sand Mountain time challenge is really difficult if you don't know all of the shortcuts and the fastest path.
Yeah, I accidentally did them in reverse. I didn't realize it. I just wandered into the last one, and I was like, this level is fucking hard. Like, I ran out of time, and I didn't even, like, see where the bottom is. Like, what the hell? And then I realized that was supposed to be, like, it's the boss of the level, basically. And then I went back and did the other 2 without any problems at all.
I really like the introduction to this level because the setup is that Squidward is like, I came here to, ski and relax, but there are robots on all the slopes now. I'll give you a golden spatula if you get rid of all the robots. And SpongeBob's like, And then he's like, okay, I'll give you a golden spatula for each slope. I like that.
So after you... go ahead.
I want to say that I really enjoyed messing around with the geometry in Sand Mountain. I really liked just like going around, jumping on stuff, and going down the slopes and jumping weird and going backwards on the slopes and just messing around with the physics.
Yeah, and I love that, like, the physics are really floaty. Your jumps are like bizarrely floaty, and they like leaned into that for a lot of these. So you have to like take some turns like crazy sharply, but like, because you have like regular controls, but also a little bit tank controls because your camera like affects your turning radius. So you're like twin sticking to make it through this, or you just floaty ass jump over the complicated part and you can probably make it. And it was a whole lot of fun. It felt like I was bending the game over my knee and making it. And it was good. I really liked this level.
Sand Mountain is my favorite level in the entire game, so I can talk about this level for hours.
It's great. What is not as great, I did not like it nearly as much, is our second boss fight of the game against Robot Patrick in the industrial park. So the first boss was SpongeBob and Patrick versus Robot Sandy, and now we have SpongeBob and Sandy versus Robot Patrick. It's not necessarily hard. It's just annoying. Because
the part where you have to keep lasso swinging between the lasso swing points is annoying. Although I do love that the lasso swing points are just little gold orbs, with Texas on it, and the Texas is colored like the Texas flag.
Yep.
It's a great touch.
They really exist only as a gaming abstraction for Sandy specifically.
Yeah.
They fit in really well during one of the last levels of the game, and we'll get to that probably right after this.
Yeah, you fight Patrick, and you bowl a bubble at him, or etc. when he sits down to eat ice cream, and he fills his shit up with toxic waste, and it's annoying, and I did not like it that much.
Yeah, this boss is probably the worst one in the game.
Yeah. So after you beat Robot Patrick, you get a new move for Spongebob, where you blow a bubble that turns into a missile, and you can blow shit up with it. I loved this. I was bad at aiming, real bad at aiming, and when you get to the Kelp Forest, you have to do a lot of like super tight aiming, and I failed those a lot.
Aiming is hard, but it's also a really fun thing to try and succeed to break the game with.
Oh, yeah.
You said Kelp Forest, and I just remembered we have to talk about Kelp Forest.
Yeah. But first, the last section of Bikini Bottom that you get to has the Krusty Krab, which is a combat encounter, has the Chum Bucket, which is where the final boss is, and it also has something else there. I think
movie theater.
Yeah, the movie theater.
It's sort of weird how in this game you have the Krusty Krab and you just go in there and you fight some robots, and of course you spend just like 10 minutes in there. It's a tiny little place, but it feels weird that it's such a small part of the game considering it's where most of the show takes place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first of these levels is the aforementioned Kelp Forest. And I really I enjoyed this level. I did not love this level. It reminded me of Bubble Gloop Swamp from Banjo-Kazooie, where looking back at it, I'm like, I did a lot of fun things there, but playing it, you're just like, I fucking hate this swamp. I fucking hate everything about this. Why does this level even exist? And then you get to the cool parts, and you're like, oh yeah, this is why. But then I had to do a lot of shit.
This level, it is weird, it is complicated, and I was like, oh shit, this game is hard, actually. That's interesting.
Yeah.
There is sorry.
I was just gonna say, it does have the only like puzzle that I had to actually like think about in the game, which was really nice.
Heads.
Yeah. So when you're Patrick, you can pick up stuff and throw it, and to get to the end of the level, there's parts where there's switches that you have to put tiki heads on, and one of them in particular, you have to like use the tiki heads for their own individual puzzles, but then bring all three of the tiki heads into one spot to get the actual spatula. And with all the thrown objects, if it's for a puzzle, because the original game didn't have physics, the new game does. You can throw stuff anywhere, but to actually do the puzzle, it has to lock on to a place. And I couldn't get the lock on for where you're supposed to throw the final tiki head to work. I couldn't get that to do it at all. So I was trying to use the seesaws that launch Patrick. I was trying to like put the tiki head on there with me and throw it to try to launch me and the tiki head at the same time. I was like stumped in a good way, and then eventually found it, and I did like that part a lot.
This level has some good stuff going for it, and then there's the kelp vine slide.
Oh, I found that fun.
Yeah, I really like that. I love the sliding in this game. The kelp vine was hard, and you couldn't save yourself with floaty jumps as much as you could in Sand Mountain, but you still have floaty jumps to save yourself a lot, and it's not a time trial, so you get the checkpoints the whole way down.
I was fucking horrified the whole time.
I still really liked vines. I thought that was the best part of this. I didn't like the finding the campers portion. I like the caves and I like the slide, but the open areas, I felt it kind of felt like the majority of Crash 1 and the Insane trilogy, where I'm like, I feel like I'm doing this right, and the physics game engine just doesn't like me, and I miss this jump because it sucks and not I suck. I probably was the one that sucked, but it didn't feel like I was sucking.
Right.
Technically, the not next level, but it's the next one we're going to talk about, is SpongeBob's Dream. So I don't know why it's called SpongeBob's Dream, because you don't go to SpongeBob's Dream, you go to everybody else's dream. It's based on that episode where SpongeBob goes to everyone else's dreams. And
I like how they were like, okay, we're gonna have a level based on the dreams episode. So should SpongeBob, in order to access that level, go back to his house and go to bed? Well, no, we can't do that because it's a late game episode. It's a late game level. So how about he just stands in a circle of rocks in the middle of the street and falls asleep there, and that's how he accesses this level.
It's very weird. I found it on accident.
Falls asleep in the middle of the road.
So yeah, the first dream you come across is Sandy's dream, which is another slide, and the slides are the best part of this game. Like they were serviceable parts of Mario 64. They are hands down the best part of this game. And
Easily.
Sandy's slide is
Long.
it's long and it's like non-linear. There's parts that loop around on itself, so you have to like make sure you're jumping in the right spot. And you can hop off the slide to go and do a little spatula and then come back and do more slide. And it was great. Sandy's Dream in particular is a highlight of the game for me. It was real good.
Yeah.
Everything is Texas themed. Like there's like giant cowboy hats and giant Texas and
Giant manure trucks, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
yeah.
Like we have in Texas.
Yeah, like I have them all over the place in Texas. But
Oh yeah, I forgot you guys are actually from Texas.
yeah. That's why when Bernard was like, "Oh, I love that they're Texases," I was like, "Of course they are. Why? What else would?" Oh yeah, sorry, Texas is a mythical place to everybody else. After Sandy's Dream, you go to Mr. Krabs' dream.
Squidward's dream.
Next, Squidward's dream. Squidward is not in his dream. It is Larry, I believe. And
Larry's in Sandy's dream. Mr. Krabs is in Squidward's dream.
Mr. Krabs is in Squidward's dream. Yeah, but at least in Sandy's dream, you play as Sandy, so it makes sense. Nobody else appears in their dreams, which is cute. But yeah, so Mr. Krabs is in Squidward's dream. And this one I thought was really cool as well. It's like the platformer gauntlet of the game. You're making your way across the music notes coming from Squidward's clarinet, and it's a real hard platforming challenge that doesn't just throw a lot of fucking enemies at you like the level we skipped. But I really enjoyed making my way through this one as well. It reminded me a lot of so Scarlett is really into Roblox. There's a genre of Roblox game called obbies, which is short for obstacle course. Yep. And most of them are just like platforming in Roblox is really bad, but it's very consistent. So doing little consistent platforming challenges in Roblox, you get into the fucking zone while you're doing it, and they're a lot of fun. And this level reminded me of a good Roblox obby.
Squidward's dream sort of reminded me of Rainbow Ride from Super Mario 64, because it's just a bunch of abstract platforming floating in the air, which pretty much all of Super Mario 64 is abstract stuff floating in the air, but Rainbow Ride especially.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about the Squidward's Dream segment is that when you jump on a note, it plays that note.
Uh-huh.
And there's like yellow notes that you can jump on, and they sound like ass butt.
Yeah, those are Squidward playing the wrong note.
Yeah.
Which is good. So after you get through Squidward's dream, I will say this is where the game started to get unfair, is in between the dreams, like getting to the next dream. Those platforming sections started to like throw enemies at you while you're in midair, and you can't really do anything. You just kind of have to take the death, figure out, and get lucky. And that kind of sucked, which leads us into the hardest combat challenge of the game. I'm assuming
Patrick's dream.
No. Patrick's dream, just like in the show, you just walk in and you get the spatula, and it's great. His is the last one. His is basically, you made it this far, you deserve a free spatula.
In the menu, that spatula is actually just called, here you go.
But yes, Mr. Krabs' dream.
Mr. Krabs' dream, Squidward's there, of course, and you go onto this giant fry cook griddle, and there are a shitload of robots there that have a shitload of AoE attacks, and all of the robot spawners are up away from the where you can't hit them, so you have to deal with enough of the robots enough times where each, like, say you have the little dudes, if you kill like 20 of the little dudes, the Krabby Patty off to the side separates into stairs. So you have like bun, patty, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, ketchup, mustard, other bun, in that order. But whatever the actual reference is. But so you can use that as stairs to go up and destroy the thing. It's real hard to stay alive that long.
I could not have done this if I was, say, playing on the Switch and had really long load times.
Yeah.
Or if I was playing on PS2 and had really long load times.
You'd be surprised how fast the PS2 load times actually were.
Yeah, on Switch, it's like a 45-second load every time you die. And I'm like, why does it have to be this long? Just reset my spot in the level. Like, you don't need to load more stuff. But anyway,
I need a Switch 2 with a SSD and better graphics.
Yeah, on delay. But
it will be on delay because of the supply chain disruptions.
Ayo. But yeah, it felt great to finally get it, and I almost skipped it because I was like, I know I only need 75, but this one being hard, I was afraid of what the last level would be. But completing this one, getting the Patrick's dream, buying a couple more from Mr. Krabs and Patrick for my collectibles, I had 74 of the needed 75. So I got...
I just thought of a good joke.
What?
We could call the replacement Mr. Krabs Mr. Scabs.
Mr. Scabs. That's good. So I went into Flying Dutchman's graveyard and I did the first spatula, and then I left because the rest of it was hard and I did not like it. So I cannot accurately talk about the rest of Flying Dutchman's graveyard because getting the first spatula made me want to rip my hair out.
I did most of Flying Dutchman's graveyard because it was hard and I liked it.
I can cover it if you need me to.
Yeah, so did I miss anything by giving up after the pushy block puzzle, the extended one?
Yeah, not like right toward the very end, but like the second to last area. There's a really difficult wall jumping challenge.
Oh my god, yeah, that part.
Where they're moving platforms horizontally, and you have to like jump across them as they're moving across gaps.
Jesus.
And then at the very end of that whole section, there's one where there's like, this is probably one of my favorite wall jump puzzles in any game. There's a stationary wall, and then there is a rotating pillar with small wall jump panels on it. And you have to time it on your way up. Stationary wall, first panel. Stationary wall, second panel, up and up and up and up and up, until you get up to the top and get the golden spatula.
That sounds cool.
It's hard.
But after that area, there is an area where you go in and you meet Mr. Krabs, and he's like, hey, the Flying Dutchman ship and the robot ship are engaged in a fucking firefight. Go arm the Flying Dutchman's cannons and destroy the robot ship's cannons. And you're jumping back and forth between these two pirate ships, arming the cannons on the Flying Dutchman ship and destroying the cannons on the robot ship. After you do all of that, the Flying Dutchman goes, oh, hey, you got my ship back. But I think I'm going to keep a hold of this golden spatula because it's pretty and I like it. And also, fuck you. So you do your first mini-boss that you don't play as Spongebob for. You fight the Flying Dutchman as Sandy. And he sneezes death at you. He has eye lasers for some fucking reason.
Yeah, very, Japanese video game bullet hell type eye lasers.
Yeah, he'll put his fingers on the sides of his head like Cyclops and then shoot DNA helix shaped lasers at you that will just burn along the ground. And then he'll teleport around and then he'll start sneezing fire at you. And that's when you lasso his tail. And then there's a neat little animation after you lasso his tail where he teleports away from you and then sits there and rubs his tail for a minute that fucking hurt. And after you do that, the end of the level, SpongeBob's like, can you guys stop fighting? I have an idea. And he blows a replica of the Flying Dutchman's ship as a bubble and gives it to the Flying Dutchman. And the Flying Dutchman goes, oh, that's pretty neat. You can have this fucking spatula now.
But after you get your 75th spatula, you can go into the chum bucket to play a final level that I feel should be in reverse. I feel you should have done the platforming and then had the boss fight at the end. But it's not that way. So you have a giant robot Spongebob that you get to fight, and it's a big, climactic, awesome boss fight where he it's pretty easy because you use your bubble missile and you just dodge him until he stops moving and then you blow up as many as you can, and it doesn't take very long and it's not very hard, but it's fun. And after you destroy it, you then follow Robot Plankton, because of course there's a Robot Plankton, into Robot SpongeBob's ear hole. And you then go around Robot SpongeBob's brain and blow that up a couple times. And then the game's just over.
Yep.
And I feel doing a platforming challenge and then the boss fight would have felt better. But it's not.
Well, fun fact. There was initially supposed to be a whole nother phase to this boss fight.
With the anchor arms?
Yes, there was supposed to be a fight against it with the anchor arms where you would switch between Patrick and Sandy and attack the nubs that are holding the air in with your throw fruit and your lasso.
That sounds fun.
And, we never actually got to see it and in the original because it was rushed for a holiday release, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And when THQ Nordic announced this, they were like, we're going to add all the missing content from the original game, including the robot Squidward boss fight that got cut, and what Patrick's Dream was actually supposed to be, and Glove World was supposed to be a level.
We didn't get any of that.
No.
We didn't get any of that because they had to rush it for a holiday release. And thus, history repeats itself. Well,
couldn't even get Clancy Brown.
Technically, they did give us the Robot Squidward boss fight in the form of the multiplayer mode, where you team up with 1 to 4 people, I think. It's either 1 to 4 or 2 people. And you fight through what is basically just a top-down beat-em-up style thing with very minimal platforming and destroy Robot Squidward as you're going.
But yeah, so when you beat Robot Plankton, technically in SpongeBob's brain, you make your way out of SpongeBob. Robot Plankton goes into the Duplicatortron, and there's a bunch of them, and they get mad at each other and destroy each other, and you then technically have saved the day. All of the characters say, it sucks that we did not save the day. We need to go back out and keep trying to save the day. And then that's it.
And then if you 100% the game, there's the in-engine video of all the characters singing the main theme.
And that's it. It was weird watching that because the real Mr. Krabs is there singing because it's a recorded song. And I'm like, where have you been the last 20 hours of gameplay, sir?
Oh, wow. Oh, Clancy Brown sings the theme song?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was Tom Kenny singing the theme song for some reason. But it sounds more like Clancy Brown now that I think about it.
I never really thought about how lacking in an ending this game actually was until you brought up that this game really doesn't have an ending.
It really doesn't. But yeah, let's listen to another song. What's another good song for us to listen to?
Final Boss.
Final Boss. And then we will talk about our memorable moments.
I want to go first.
Go for it.
I want to go first because I remembered one that I don't want to forget. So throughout the game, there's this running gag where SpongeBob thinks he's responsible for the robots because he wished for them. Mm-hmm. And Plankton realizes this and, manipulates poor SpongeBob. But then when you get to the final area of Bikini Bottom, you can have optional dialogue with Plankton where SpongeBob realizes that Plankton is behind everything. And the dialogue is really funny. And I also just think it's funny that you have the main character realize what's happening in the plot in optional dialogue because it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything that you're doing.
Yeah. No. That particular train of dialogue starts with Plankton going, "Keep looking for golden spatulas, SpongeBob. I'm sure my robots out there have some." Then SpongeBob goes, "You called them your robots." "What? No, I didn't." And then there's something else that's said, and Plankton keeps trying to defend himself. And then SpongeBob goes, "And I found this. Oh no, I saw a butt plate on one of the robots that said property of Plankton." And Plankton goes, "You've got it all wrong." And then SpongeBob says, "I found this receipt for robot parts with your signature on it." And Plankton goes, "Can I have that back? I need it for my tax write-off."
And then my favorite is it ends the thing is like, and also the chum bucket says robot headquarters on it.
Yeah, that's in a different bit of dialogue though.
But still, it's good shit.
I also want to say, generally, this is something that I find just to generally be a thing with games of this nature, is that, for one, the writing feels a little weird sometimes because it's just not as tight as a SpongeBob episode, because it's a big game where you go around, you talk to people in different orders and stuff. It just feels a little weird that it's not as tight and ridiculously brilliant as an early SpongeBob episode. And also, there's a bunch of times where it sort of feels like they need to fill something in, so they just sort of do something that's not very SpongeBob. I'm specifically thinking of, there's a number of movie references, which is not really a SpongeBob thing. Like, SpongeBob has a battle line where he says, "You just met the Sponginator," in a really weird Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Sponginator.
I'm like, that doesn't feel like...
That's a direct SpongeBob reference, though. The Sponginator. Yeah. Let me look up episode, but...
Well, in that case, it falls under the other category, which is just doing a gag from an old episode again.
Again, but worse.
Yeah. Where there's a fine line between like a fan servicey reference or a running gag and just doing the same thing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I feel like sometimes has to happen to pad out the immense amount of writing in this game, in games like this, because there's a lot more writing in this than there is in an 11-minute episode of SpongeBob.
Yeah. When this game does references, they're really good. When they do bits from the show, they're not very good. Like walking up to the vending machine in Rock Bottom and a taxi going by is brilliant. But there are times they use the same joke just out of context or in a different context, and it just, oh, look, you said the thing from the show, and it's not as great. So I'm not able to find via Google the Sponginator, but I remember seeing in the show when SpongeBob calls himself the Sponginator. I didn't play this game at all as a kid, and the little bit I did interact with it was I played the first like 30 seconds, realized my dad's copy was in German, and I never went back to actually play it. So I know I'm not remembering it from here, but it's one time like when he has anchor arms or doing karate with Sandy or something like that. He calls himself the Sponginator. But
if you say so,
I will find it and show you later. But it definitely is not good. The way he says it is not how he says it from the show.
Also, in the show, you just hear it once.
Yeah.
As opposed to every few minutes.
Every time you get a mega combo or whatever.
Yeah.
Other things I really liked about this game, memorable moments wise, is it's hard to pick a particular part because like just all the references are great, but the one that doesn't make any sense is they did the like in-game model viewer as the museum in Rock Bottom, which implies that all of SpongeBob's friends are worthy of study in the city of Rock Bottom, and they have museums dedicated to just wax figures of everyone that SpongeBob's ever met, and that's fucking weird. But I loved it. It was stupid and great.
I feel like it sort of fits the vibe of the Rock Bottom episode. Like I could imagine that episode is longer and just in a sort of Lynchian way, SpongeBob just wanders into a dark museum in the middle of the night and realizes that his entire life is documented there. Mm-hmm. That seems dark and creepy enough for that episode.
Yeah. Just in general, I like all of the non-writing references to SpongeBob in this game. Like I wasn't expecting it to like feel as much like SpongeBob as it did as it went along. Because like I played my SpongeBob game growing up was The Legend of the Golden Spatula. It's funny, I played a whole game about finding one and I got 75 in this game. The Legend of the Golden Spatula for Game Boy Color, and that one was just a 2D platformer that like had a SpongeBob skin, but this game felt like SpongeBob in a very nice way.
So, one of the first 3 spatulas you can get in the game is by going into Squidward's house and jumping around like an idiot until you annoy him.
That's amazing. I never remember that.
Yeah, you go and talk to him, and if I recall correctly, he like asks why you're in his house and then says, yeah, go ahead.
He says, first these robots show up and ruin a perfectly relaxing mud bath this morning, and now you show up. Can my day get any more dreary? SpongeBob goes, is there anything I can do to fix everything? Squidward lets out a little quip that goes, why don't you move to another town? That should help out more than enough.
I like Roger Bumpus's voice acting.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, I was just looking up Roger Bumpus, and he played Professor Membrane in Invader Zim.
Oh my god. You're right.
Weird.
In downtown Bikini Bottom, you can go to the Sea Needle as an area, which is another obscure reference to like one bit that they did in the show and never came up again.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see the Sea Needle once and then it is never brought up ever again.
And again, I love how we spend a lot of time there, but we spend like 5 minutes in the Krusty Krab.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to note that this game has two interesting parts of its collectathon. So the main thing you collect is shiny objects because they were trying to think of something SpongeBob themed, I guess, and couldn't come up with anything. So it's just shiny objects. And I can't come up with anything either. So shiny objects, that's good enough.
Yeah. They're the clouds, as it were, the flowers in the background of all the SpongeBob episodes. You get those up close and
shiny.
They're shiny.
And also, game needs crates, so we have crates in the form of tikis.
Yeah.
And there are exploding ones, there are disappearing ones, there's all sorts of them.
Yeah, not the aforementioned tiki heads that Patrick throws around, just more different ones.
There's lots of different kinds, and they are basically crates.
In the second area of Bikini Bottom, when you first go into Shady Shoals, the dialogue you have with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Mermaid Man says, "Oh, hey, is that the TV repairman?" "No, it's just the Sponge Kid again." "Can he fix the TV?" And SpongeBob goes, "I could try to fix your TV." And if you walk up to the TV and bubble spin it, it actually gives you a sock.
Well, there's your problem. Had a sock in it.
Oh, boob tube, not foot tube. In the Mermalair, Squidward, because he's here for some reason, and he goes, "SpongeBob, how do I get out of here?" And SpongeBob goes, "That depends. Do you want the booby-trapped or the non-booby-trapped exit?" And then it's all off camera, but you hear Squidward screaming and writhing in agony. Sand Mountain, there's an optional golden spatula you can get, but the dialogue is, "Hey, SpongeBob, I found another golden spatula for you." "Oh, sweet. Can I have it?" "Sure, if you fall to the bottom of this pit."
It's funny for Plankton to casually try to kill SpongeBob, considering how he is manipulating SpongeBob into helping him this whole time.
Yeah, precisely. In Kelp Forest, there is a side mission where you are tasked with collecting crystals for Barnacle Boy, because he needs these energy crystals to use his new superpower. And if you collect them all, you take them back to Barnacle Boy, and he goes, "All right, I gained the ability to trim my nose hairs at super speed." At the very beginning of the Flying Dutchman's graveyard, during the dialogue with the Flying Dutchman where he's telling you the plot of the level, he has a line of dialogue where he says, "Look, kid, I'm too disturbed to scare the bejesus out of you right now."
Doesn't Tom Kenny voice the Flying Dutchman?
I believe so.
I think so.
I can look that up real quick. Is actually Brian Doyle Murray.
Brian Doyle Murray. Why do I think everyone's voiced by Tom Kenny?
He's apparently the voice of Captain Knuckles in the Misadventures of Flapjack.
Yeah, I knew that.
Huh.
So, I don't know if I'm from a different universe or I just am wrong or what, but I have done every sort of search that I could for the Sponginator and as many spellings as I possibly could. I've made it to the spongebob.fandom.com/list of transcripts, which has the full transcript for every episode of the entire series, including Camp Coral and the Patrick Star Show. And I have searched for the phrase Nator, just in case I'm combining the words different. Like, is it E-N? Is it E-hyphen I-N? Like what, however it's spelled. But Nator should be the same spelling. I have searched for that, and it has only come up as Battle for Bikini Bottom. But I did not play this game growing up, and I remember him saying it in his hero voice, which is not how he says it in the game. So, I don't know.
Mandela effect?
Mandela effect?
You mentioned Camp Coral. Can I say something that pisses me off about Camp
Yes.
Coral, a show I have never watched?
Yes,
Here we go.
please.
So I saw a commercial for it, and in the commercial, baby SpongeBob and baby Sandy are being friends, and baby Patrick's there too. And I'm like, no, SpongeBob meets Sandy in the second episode of the show, Tea at the Tree Dome. That's when they first meet.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. This is not canon.
It's not. Real annoying that they can't even get that right.
Yeah.
But I
Someone
will-
was fired over that blunder.
But I will say
have-
that baby Pearl is adorable. So
I imagine.
they get a pass.
Pearl isn't in this game.
She's not.
No,
Not at
she's
all.
not. Out of all the SpongeBob games I've played, I don't think she showed up in any of them.
Weird.
Actually, that's a lie. I think she shows up in.
I don't think she's in any of them. I went to her page and her appearances, and there it lists episodes, movies, comics, and books. It does not list anything
I could have
else.
swore she showed up in Drawn to Life SpongeBob edition.
Let me look at Lori Allen's Wikipedia page and see if it lists any games with her as Pearl. I know it lists games with her as the boss. I don't see any SpongeBob games or like general Nickelodeon games under her video game credits on Wikipedia. That's weird.
Yeah.
That is very weird.
Yeah. And Googling even Drawn to Life SpongeBob Pearl doesn't seem to be pulling up anything.
Huh.
Very weird. 'Cause I love Pearl.
I always just find it so funny that Pearl and the boss from Metal Gear are voiced by the same person, and once you know that, you can totally hear it.
Is it?
Oh, wait,
The-
seriously?
Yeah, I don't know enough Metal Gear. I thought that the boss was Solid Snake.
You're thinking of Big Boss, who is above even the boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a character in. I only know this because of the spirit in Smash Ultimate, because I also haven't played a lot of Metal Gear. That'll change in the future. I have to play one for Snake eventually. But there's a character in Metal Gear just called the Boss, and it is one of the hardest spirits to get in Smash Ultimate.
As it should be, considering the nature of her character.
Yeah. I have my own personal gripes with Camp Coral and the Patrick Star Show, and it's the same gripes that everyone who knew SpongeBob during the Hillenburg era has, which is that during an interview, Stephen Hillenburg literally said that a spin-off with Patrick as the main character would never work, and I never want to do it. And
I
then
didn't know that.
They waited until Mr. Hillenburg passed away to reveal it, like within the next couple months.
Yikes. They should
that
have done.
means-
They should have done a spinoff starring Squidward. He like moves to another town.
They also
and no. Squidward moves back to Seattle, and his dad has to move in with him, and he has lots of conflicts with his brother, played by David Hyde Pierce.
there's a reference here I'm not getting.
That's
It's Frasier.
it's Frasier. Frasier
Oh.
Crane was a character on Cheers, and he played the Squidward character, and then he got a spinoff, and all of the things that Bernard said is the plot of Frasier, and it was really good. That was a top tier RPG book club joke.
They are actually making a show about Squidward as well.
Mhm. It probably won't be as good as the one I just thought of.
No, definitely not. No chance.
I've seen so many people comment on like clips of SpongeBob on YouTube and stuff. Things like, "Man, when you're a kid, you're SpongeBob. Then you grow up and you realize you're Squidward." And I'm like, when I was a kid, I was Squidward. I totally identified with Squidward as a 6 or 7 or 8 year old or whatever. I was always at Squidward.
Yeah.
Maybe that says something about me.
Yeah, I always thought that SpongeBob would be like my annoying friend. I don't think I was all the way Squidward, but I definitely was never SpongeBob and was never Patrick.
I was always 100% Squidward. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I will say, having seen the trailer for the Patrick Star Show and for Camp Coral, the Patrick Star Show feels like a SpongeBob episode, and Camp Coral does not. So
Yeah.
that's my pre-review, having watched neither of those things.
Yeah, and I have no intention on watching either of those things ever.
Yeah. So as a final sort of wrap up, I do want to say that the Steven Hillenburg years, so season 1, 2, 3 in the first movie, are immaculate. Every episode is great. They are phenomenal. They are timeless. But the Paul Tibbett solo years, which would be seasons 4 through 8, are actually really good. We just grew up when the SpongeBob SquarePants movie came out. That was like a 3-4 year hiatus before SpongeBob picked back up, and so we forgot that they were good. But me and Summer were watching them on Amazon Prime the other day, and one of our favorite like go-to jokes is from that era. And so if you have not checked out seasons 4 through 8, I cannot confirm or deny if 9 through 13, the Vincent Waller and Mark Ceccarelli, I can't pronounce Italian names, but they are the showrunners for the last 4 seasons. I do not know if any of theirs are good, but I know for a fact that seasons 4 through 8 are very funny. So if you love SpongeBob and you only watched in the Hillenburg era back in the day, there are probably 4 or 5 seasons of good SpongeBob out there that you haven't seen, and you should go back and watch them. But yeah, they're surprisingly good. Like there's an episode that I can't remember if these are 2 halves of the same episode or if this is a small joke in a unrelated episode, but the episode is one of SpongeBob's idols from TV is this cat that lives underwater and has just been faking that he can breathe underwater, basically, and it's this big thing. But the joke that kills me every time is, for comical reasons, people keep jumping off of a cliff, and every time they do it, they like stand up, clap their hands above their head, and like synchronized swimming dive off of the cliff. And it's just the way that they do it every time. It fucking kills me. It's great. I had a big old hoot. So my memorable moment for SpongeBob will be going back and watching seasons 4 through 8. They're surprisingly great.
I am just looking at fun facts on SpongeBob Wikipedia page, and I did not know that apparently when Hillenburg was pitching SpongeBob, the network executives really wanted SpongeBob to be a kid at school, but Hillenburg was really not having it, but eventually compromised by creating the boating school idea, which I find hilarious. Mm-hmm. Because the whole concept of the boating school, where it's just a bunch of adults, but it's treated like it's grade school, is extremely funny.
It's very good. But anything else to say before we wrap it up?
I like SpongeBob.
I like SpongeBob.
I like SpongeBob.
But yeah, if you like what you heard today, the rest of the podcast is not for you. We do not, I mean, we talk about SpongeBob basically every episode, but we do not talk about platforming games very often at all. But you should come listen to us anyways, and you can do that at www.rpgbook.club. And while you're there, you can donate to help us keep the lights on, and you can commission your very own episode, like Omega commissioned this one. Commissions won't be open for a while because we have a lot of shit happening right now. But once commissions are open, if you want us to, I don't know, tell you the plot of The Sims or fucking something, I guess you can do that.
Oh, you say that, but The Sims has lore.
It does. Summer keeps going off about all the different townies, and I'm like, I didn't even know there was a place to read lore about people in The Sims, but there is. It's nuts. But yeah, make us talk about The Sims lore by heading on over to www.rpgbook.club. Other than that, for RPG Book Club by request, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
And I am Omega Cereven.
Toodaloo, folks.